What's going on, everybody? It's Wednesday, the 25th of September, 2024. It's 7:30 a.m. here in Germany. This is the Insanity Report for today. And Telegram is basically over, okay? So Pavel Durov has basically published on his Telegram page or his Telegram channel that Telegram will, in the future, be providing government organizations with IP addresses and names of Telegram customers when presented with a valid legal claim. Okay, what that basically means is Pavel Durov, as we know, I reported about this a couple of weeks ago when it happened. In France, Pavel Durov, the co-founder of Telegram, was basically detained by the French authorities, and they said that he was guilty of allowing child porn and drug trafficking and terrorist activity on his platform. Now, funnily enough, these platforms in America they're basically protected by Section 230, which means that they are not responsible for the content that is being published on their sites, and that they are basically expected to do what they can in order to counter illegal materials or illegal activity on their platforms and report it to authorities. But they can't be sued for it or held criminally liable for it as long as they can show that they themselves are doing what they can do to counter it. Now, that's been a problem for authorities in some way because, the thing is, they can't hold those people responsible, and if they can't get the data and the information or the IP addresses of the people that are purporting the criminal activity on the platforms, then it's going to be hard for them to catch them, right? I get their standpoint. But our privacy as citizens is, to me, more important than that. My opinion is that law enforcement has to do their job. They have to put in investigations, and if they can, with a legal warrant, get information from one of the platforms and see, then they can get it, right? They have to have a warrant. But the problem today is we can't trust these organizations. We can't trust them anymore because they have basically tanked their trustability for the general public. In every Western country run by leftist ideologues, I know you guys are getting tired of hearing that same phrase over and over again, but it's the truth. Every Western country that is on board with this globalist agenda, that is part of the leftist ideology, is weaponizing their justice systems against their own citizens. The citizens are starting to understand that. Therefore, the citizens' trust in these organizations is basically zero. If they would have kept their original mantra, so like the three-letter agency did in the States, if they would have just kept to, listen, we're going to spy on and illegally collect data on foreign citizens however much we want to, because it's going to keep you guys safe in America. But we're not going to fuck with your privacy. That is up to local law enforcement for local crimes. And if you're not involved in some sort of terrorist activity, then you are pretty much out of the grasp of the three-letter agencies operating in secret in the United States. I think everybody would have been okay with that. Sure, there would have been some people that would have been on the fringes going, nope, even that's unacceptable. But I think that the majority of people would be like, all right, that's cool. But if you censor regular Americans on the internet, but yet let the leaders of Hamas or the Ayatollah Khomeini or these people continue to remain on these platforms and spew out their rhetoric, then it becomes a little bit untrustworthy, a little bit unbelievable. See, and we know that the justice systems in all of these countries, especially the United States, is going after its own citizens. Here in Germany, the politicians are actually taking citizens to court over things that they say about them on the internet. It's like a side hustle for them. They're making money because citizens are intimidated, and they don't go to court because it costs money, and they don't try to fight it because they're afraid they're going to lose and then have to pay for court costs from both sides. And so they just pay the fine, pay the damages, so to speak. So these politicians already get huge salaries for work that they don't do, you know what I'm saying? Which is protect the German citizenry from harm. Worry about the infrastructure here in Germany, which they don't do because the bridges are collapsing, et cetera, et cetera. They basically are getting even more money by indiscriminately suing citizens in court for damages because they got their little feelings hurt on the internet because of their poor job that they're doing. They're getting criticized, and they want to be, of course, they want to be praised for their incapability. They want to be praised for the way they are not doing their job, and they want to be voted back in. And so anybody criticizing them openly could make it that other people who may have voted for them may not vote for them. And so they are ramping up the illegality, they're ramping up the trampling of the laws, and now Pavel Durov in France, the co-founder of Telegram, has decided to capitulate. Now, before everybody goes, oh, what a pussy, you fucking traitor. Look. It's not really his fault, right? I mean, the guy was looking at serious charges, and then we all know that whether the charges are true or not, if the French government want to fuck this guy's life up, either by arresting him, freezing his assets. Apparently, these days, the legal systems of all the Western countries no longer have to abide by rules and regulations set for them. It's just the citizenries that have to abide by every law they make up and every regulation they make up and every edict they claim. We have to all abide by it or the hammer will come down. But they themselves no longer have to operate within the parameters of the legal system that they were part of creating. That's the way it works. So, if the French government gets a regular citizen in their grasp and says, listen, if you don't do what we say, we're going to charge you with criminal terrorism, we're going to charge you with the distribution of child pornography, we're going to charge you with the with making child pornography because it's being put on your website. We're going to charge you with drug trafficking. We're going to charge you with everything everybody's ever done on your platform. The guy is looking at 100 billion years in jail. You know what I mean? And it can be right or wrong, but that doesn't matter anymore. No court's going to protect him. Nobody's going to get him out of the grasp of the French government. Nobody's going to bail him out. And it's going to be basically he either does it or his life is fucked. So I get it. Okay? What was I expecting? I don't know. I guess I was kind of expecting him not to do it, but I guess it's absolutely reasonable and rational that he goes, you know what? If you guys present me in the future with a warrant, that is a legal warrant, I will give you the IP addresses and the names of the user that you are requesting. The problem is coming where it's called valid legal claim, right? Valid legal claim these days can be absolutely everything. It basically means the government, whatever country, now can just call up Telegram and say, look, we want a list of IP addresses, names of these users, and this is our valid legal claim. And what is Pavel Durov going to do? Is he going to go to court over every one of these things that he gets? Is Telegram going to fight in court about every warrant, every valid legal claim supposedly that they get in the future? No, they're not, because then they would be crushed with legal fees. They would need 1 billion lawyers because the amount of requests that these companies get from different governments all over the world is probably massive. And basically, it's now a rubber stamp. If the government says we want it because we say we have a reason for it, then it's going to be given to them. What that means is that from now on, forget about Pavel Durov capitulating. I mean, just think if it was you, okay? Just think if you're a fucking billionaire, I don't know, he's not even 40, I don't think, the guy. You have your whole life still ahead of you, and some corrupt government agency gets you in their grasp and decides to basically extort you, and they have the upper hand completely. There's nothing you can do. Your billions of dollars aren't even going to save you. You know what I mean? So he couldn't get any lawyer in the world that could get him off because the governments are not playing by the same legal framework as we have to play by. See, we are bound by the legal framework. They are not. That's the big problem. And until we solve that problem, these issues are not going to get resolved. What this means is that Telegram, because some governments, like the British government, for example, they feel like hate speech is a crime, and they define what hate speech is, and they want people in jail for saying something they don't like on the internet, and that includes Telegram. Telegram has been demonized by the German government for years because the German government feels like there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of disinformation being spread on Telegram, right? Being spread on Telegram, And so they want information about these misinformationists, disinformationists, and people that don't agree with the left. And they have demonized Telegram for the longest time because they're on Telegram, people could say whatever the fuck they wanted. Now, yeah, they're probably a little bit worried about terrorism and all that shit, but really, they're always going for the low-hanging fruit, right? Their low-hanging fruit is people who say something naughty on the internet are going to get the hammer put down on them, and the terrorists are just going to get away with it. That's how it's been thus far. As I said, Ayatollah Khomeini and Hamas terrorists still have an X account, a Twitter account, but at the time X was still Twitter. Regular American citizens who actually have free speech. Ayatollah Khomeini does not have free speech, right? The leaders of Hamas do not have free speech because they don't live in America. So they could be thrown off the platform just like that. But American citizens that enjoy the legal right of free speech, they were getting censored and banned all over the place while these criminals were allowed to retain an account on Telegram or on Twitter at the time. So that's how this is going to happen. The same thing is going to happen in Telegram. People, hear my words here, your chats and your activities, no matter what you're into, whether it's actual really real crime or it's just dissonant opinions about your current government, you are no longer going to be safe on Telegram, okay? Because the fact is, Pavel Durov has now basically said publicly he's going to start working with governments if they have a valid legal claim, which could mean absolutely anything. So he has capitulated. Now, there's people that are talking about this like, well, there's no proof that this capitulation has anything to do with his detainment in France. Oh, if there's no proof? Of course there's proof. Because before he got detained in France by the French authorities and slapped with a bunch of fucking crazy maniacal charges that would have landed him in prison for the rest of his fucking life if he would lose in court, which he probably would, because again, they're not playing by the same rules as us. Before that happened, there was no, Pavel Durov was telling every government to go fuck itself, right? Telegram was not going to give information to governments. That's it. They're protecting their users. That's it. The government's going to have to find another way to get a hold of these people. And that was pissing off everybody, right? That was pissing everybody off. And suddenly he gets held in France and they don't give him bail. He can't leave the fucking country. You know what I'm saying? He's going to be looking at a billion years in jail. And suddenly he says, okay, all right, we'll start giving them IP addresses and names of customers if they have a valid legal claim. Of course, it's one has to do with the other. Of course it does. But I think that almost anybody listening to this, almost anybody would have done the same. You know what I mean? You can either go to prison for the rest of your life for something that you didn't do just because they have more power, or you can say, you know what, if you bring me a valid legal claim, fine, I'll give you the information. But what that means is that essentially every Telegram user is no longer safe from governments. Now, if you want to avoid being sued as a dissident on Telegram, then start using a real VPN. Go to ExpressVPN, for example. I'm not doing a commercial for them. I just use them, and I use them because they don't keep logs of the data, right? So the VPN masks your IP address, right? And when your IP address is masked, the other end cannot tell where you are, what computer you're using, who you are, and what location you are. It masks the IP address and spoofs it to make the system that you're going on, the platform, whatever, your ISP, nobody can see where you actually are and who you actually are. Now, they can see who I actually am because I'm making a video, right? But if you want to communicate privately, then you should get a VPN and start using it. Now, I am under the opinion that it won't be long before governments start trying to ban VPN usage. They're already doing it in Brazil for the access to Twitter. They're fining people $9,000 a day or something, which some of those people don't even make in 2 years, for using VPN to access X or Twitter. So the trend is already starting, right? And this is a loss for our side. This is a loss for people who want freedom, maximum freedom. You know what I mean? This is a loss for those of us that are trying to fight this monster machine that basically breaks all the rules, tramples everybody's rights, and doesn't give a shit and is never held accountable. This is a loss for us. But here's the facts, right? The fact is, it is going to be up, and I know people are tired of this. They're tired of this speech, right? But I have to keep giving it because it is the truth and more people need to see it. So the fact is, the only way that we are going to be able to put a stop to this corrupt machine, let's put it, right? Whether you call it the deep state, the bureaucratic state, the fucking the bean counting state, whatever you want to call it. The thing is, it is a machine on its own. It's a corrupt machine. It works the same in every Western country. They try to play it off like it's democracy, but it isn't, right? It is not democracy. The rights that we supposedly have, obviously, and it's been proven, can be taken from us at any time by whatever government decides to do it. Okay? So this bullshit about God-given rights and, well, the Constitution will protect us, well, it's not doing a great job then. You know what I mean? And God also isn't really doing a great job protecting your rights that he gave you, because they're getting taken away whenever whatever government wants to take them away. And the reason why is because they have all the power. In order to turn this ship around, right, we need to get the power away from the people that are wielding it incorrectly. That in the West is done through voting. The only way you can vote the right people into office is if you know generally what's going on. At the very least, you should know what the people you are voting for, what their record is, what have they done, what have they accomplished, what bills have they voted on, what bills have they voted against. It isn't very difficult. You can check those people out. The information is public. As a matter of fact, in most countries, the information is public on government websites, so they're not trying to hide it, right? It's there. But people are voting based on their own emotions and based on the candidate that looks the best or is a woman or it may be black or maybe not, or they're voting on emotions rather than on policy and on facts. And you can get the policies and the facts, but people are too lazy to do it. The easiest thing to do is go, well, everybody I know is voting for them, so I'm going to vote for them. And that's it. And people are voting themselves into this kind of situation. We now have totalitarianism at our doorsteps, right, in the Western countries. It's here, right? It's already infiltrated. It's just soft totalitarianism right now. America is not a republic. It is not a representative democracy. It is a soft totalitarian oligarchy. This is the same for almost every other Western country, right? They're soft totalitarian oligarchies. The reason why they're soft totalitarians is because they're not yet putting people in gulags. Well, I mean, I guess January 6th is pretty much as close as you're going to get. So America's already moving towards hard totalitarianism, right? They are actually clamping down by illegally detaining people in prison for exorbitant amounts of time against all laws of due process. So they're already almost there, right? And the fact is, there are going to be there's one way we can do it right now, right? Because everybody wants to avoid violence. Nobody wants to get into a violent revolution. And the people that do aren't as ready for that as they may very think. And the fact is, they're not going to get as much support as they think, because most people will not be ready to kick away their whole life, grab a gun, and go out there and try to combat the government in order to retain freedom. Most people will just capitulate. They will get on their knees and kiss the boots of their oppressors. That's what they're going to do. Look at North Korea. They've been like this for decades. Nobody's ever tried to rise up in North Korea. So, I mean, maybe single people have, but there has not been a giant movement in North Korea to depose the government and try to get freedom. It just isn't happening. And I don't think it's going to happen in the West either, because most people are not ready for it. Most people are not willing to do it. They're not willing to risk their lives of their family, and their family's well-being in order to retain maximum freedom. They're just not going to do it. And the governments in the West aren't stupid enough to go to hard totalitarianism or to start starving people or to, take away their livelihoods too much, because the fact is, if you do that to too many people en masse, then people will revolt, because they're basically facing an existential crisis. As long as the crisis is not existential, most people will just bow down and shut up. So the idea that at some point the revolution is coming and we're going to see massive millions of people in the streets with their guns in America trying to fight for freedom and depose the tyrannical government, that is a pipe dream. You know what I mean? That's a pipe dream. It's not happening. So we're left with one other thing in order to stop this maniacal shit. And that is, we have to start getting involved with the political process. At least to the point of knowing what you're talking about. At least to the point of knowing what the candidates you're voting for are doing or are not doing. At least, right? That's the least everybody should have to do. They should have to be informed on the people that are running for whatever office in their country or in their states, right? And they should be able to make decisions based on those people's records. It doesn't matter whose dick they sucked, whose dick they didn't suck, who they got fucked by, if they cheated on their wife or not. All that shit does not matter. What matters is their policies and are they doing their job in protecting the citizens of the country and trying to ward off harm to them. That is what counts. That's it, right? And people have to start getting away from this emotional voting. Now, that's basically my point. If you don't want to be under government surveillance for trying to speak your opinion or speak your mind or criticize the government that you are trying to criticize, if you don't want to be put under scrutiny and you want to be able to use social media platforms to be able to continue to express your opinion or to sell your product or to make your podcast or whatever, then you will have to be on the side of those that are purporting freedom. In America, that's Donald Trump, not Kamala Harris. We know that. You gotta not, then you can't vote for Kamala Harris. At the moment, under the Harris administration, under the Harris-Biden administration, at the moment, the Department of Treasury, I did a video about this a couple days ago, is criminally investigating in secret those people in America that buy a Bible. For example, that's just one of the things, right? Shopping at Bass Pro and Cabela's or putting Trump in the notations part of your payment. That is also causing people to be put on criminal watch lists by the U.S. Department of Treasury. The Congress knows about this. They're not doing anything about it. So nobody's going to be able to do anything about it. You have to get rid of the people that are supporting this kind of shit. Any candidate or any political party or any politician that refuses to play by the same rules they impose on you has to go. That's the number one thing you can look at. When you're looking at these people's records, are they voting for policies or have they voted for policies that restrict your rights or not? And if they are, don't vote for them, right? Don't vote for them because they're just contributing to the shit that we're seeing in France with Pavel Durov. France has used the power of their judicial system in a way that it's not allowed to do if it plays by the rules. Yeah, and they have basically extorted, bribed, blackmailed, whatever you want to call it, Pavel Durov into capitulating to their will. And although Pavel Durov, because he doesn't want to lose every customer that he has, obviously is saying valid legal claims will be answered with the IP addresses and the names of the users, but only under valid legal claims, is still, that doesn't mean anything anymore because the fact is the valid legal claim these days is not something that is gained by warrant or gained by evidence or gained by some sort of process. No, it's whatever the person with the most power, which is the government, says it is. So that's you expressing your opinion on the internet or, talking shit about your government on the internet. That's you. You are the target. These people that are in power have expressed often enough in the last couple of years that their number one concern is disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. Those are the three things that the globalist, leftist ideologues want to fight against because the disruption of their narrative and that people are not believing their bullshit anymore is causing them to lose power. Because that's all they were able to hold on to power for to begin with, is this mirage that they've been able to sell the public on because the public only had 5 television channels. Everybody saw the same news. Everybody got the same fucking information. Everybody's basically happy. Now everybody can get information on the internet wherever they want, whenever they want, from wherever they want in the world, right? And so that's fucking them up big time. Of course it is. They have lost control of the narrative. Their number one concern is regaining control of the narrative. And to think that this will be any different with Telegram, that they're just going to use valid legal, they're just going to go after child porn and terrorism, guys. That's it. How many times has that been true in the past? Patriot Act in America was the same thing. We're just going to go after terrorists. And suddenly Edward Snowden comes out and says, well, Actually, they're spying on every fucking person in America. They're collecting all their emails, all their data, all their phone conversations, and they're basically putting it in each individual basket. And when they need to go to it in the future, they'll be able to get information from the past by doing this. And they're spying on their allied country members. They're spying on Angela Merkel. They're spying on every American. Totally illegal, totally against every law and rule and ordinance that's ever been made in America. And they've done it, and they're still doing it because they didn't get any repercussions for doing it, right? The only people that were demonized is Edward Snowden. He's the bad guy because he exposes what this corrupt intelligence agency is doing. But has anything changed? Probably not. You know what I mean? Why would it? They have absolute power, and they know it. And the only reason they have absolute power is because we continue to vote in people that are completely incompetent and not on our side. So guys, the message again is there's going to be a lot of voting coming up. There's going to be a lot of elections in a lot of Western countries. Most importantly, the one being in November in the United States. Start voting for your interest. And if your interest is to remain free from government overreach and government overreach and surveillance, then you must vote for the person that is going to either pull that back or get rid of it altogether. And that is not Kamala Harris. That is Donald Trump. Now, if that's not important to you and you don't care, then by all means, continue to vote yourself into totalitarianism. That's great. Just remember that people like me are going to be waiting in the same cage you're going to be sent to. And then you're going to have to answer to us, right? Because if you guys vote us and vote me into a totalitarian system that I cannot escape, you can guarantee your ass will be in the cage along with me, and that's going to be a fucking problem for you. I guarantee it. So think about it like that. Think about it like that. Think about it like that. Vote for your interest and vote for the interest of your fellow citizen, because you all have to live under the control of these governments. And if you want their control to be diminished, you must vote them out. These people currently running the show in most countries are never going to just suddenly go, you know what? Let's have actual democracy. Let's have actual freedom for the citizens. Let's start paying attention to what the citizens want and stop fucking, weaponizing the law against regular people. We're gonna stop doing that. You think that's gonna happen? Of course not. Of course not. It's never happening. The only way it's gonna happen is if we, the citizens, depose them out of power. They've got to go. And I'm telling you, I know people are tired of this. I'm telling you, these tools that we have at our disposal, including voting, the democratic processes, so to speak, are the only things we have in order to make this go our way. Because the only other alternative is going to be a violent uprising. And I said before, and I'll say it again, I don't see that happening, and I don't think anybody really wants that. So start waking the fuck up and start fucking paying attention, guys. Start paying attention to who you're voting for. Get these people out of office. Until then, be careful, get a VPN, you know what I mean? And continue to spread your message, regardless of what these governments are doing, because we are winning, and we will win if people get on board, get their heads straight, and start becoming informed. Stop voting on emotions, stop reacting on emotions, and do things with logic, reason, and critical thinking. That's my message always, guys. Logic, reason, and critical thinking. And so that was the Insanity Report for today. I think I've said all I can say about it. It's been a long one, I'm sorry. If you want my stuff directly delivered to your inbox, then you can subscribe to my Substack below. You'll get all the videos, all the articles delivered directly to your inbox. The easiest way to do it, it's the easiest way for me to reach all my followers. It's the easiest way for you to get all my stuff. Subscribe below, free or for $5 a month. That would be greatly appreciated. And we'll see you guys on tomorrow's Insanity Report. Have a good one.